Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Another Karen who thinks that the workers obey her is starting our video today. Yeah, in some cases, you can't do without the police. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. A wild Karen in the deli. So I'm working in the Safeway Deli currently. I'm 19 and just graduated last year, so thought I'd get some work experience before I hit the books again. So it was around 6 p.m. I emerged from the back and my coworker asked me to help a customer, so promptly I do. A disgruntled-looking woman is standing there with a cart. "How may I help you, ma'am?" I ask her. "Where's your noodle capini salad? I don't see it." "The lemon capellini? We don't have it right now, ma'am. We're out of stock." "I need to speak to a manager right now," she says sternly. So I looked for one, but all of them were gone, so I informed her, "There's no managers around." "I need to speak to a manager right now, woman." I'm speechless for a moment, then she starts to yell at the top of her lungs and make arm motions. "You work for me! I'm the customer! You're a worker! You're under me, and this is unacceptable! There's no excuse for this!" She starts yelling insults at me, and I say, "There's no need for this. Cut it out." I walk away. There's a long line and a lot of customers, and they were looking at her like she was nuts. I wouldn't say that she didn't blame me at all and that we shouldn't accept the abuse, because she knows how it is because she worked in retail when she was my age. My coworker calls the store manager. Lady keeps going on whilst I'm helping people. She's demanding me and my coworker's name so we can be reported to corporate, and called me a B. She's hurling insults and yelling about how lousy, lazy, and stupid we are. She tries to bash the store manager with her cart, and when asked to leave, she said she couldn't be made to leave. The cops are called, and she's walked out the store. A police report is made, and the deli closed early. Yep, just a normal day at the Safeway Deli. And our second story. Cancel your ER visit so you can cover my shift and I can be early to my concert. I've had friends call me all sorts of things. My favorite is the girl, one of my best friends and coworker, that threw a tantrum for 2 weeks calling me a selfish bee and made a deal about me asking for a day off at work to go to the ER. I was struggling with chronic pain and severe depression, and I needed help. I also needed a personal day, but she only knew I had to go to the hospital. Well, it turned out that she had a concert the same day I asked off. The concert was at 8 p.m. and I wasn't going to it, not even invited, so why would I care, right? Nope. When she found out the day I asked off, she threw a whole tantrum. By this I mean side comments, bad attitude, talking crap the whole time, making me feel incredibly bad about everything. Since we worked together, I couldn't avoid this at all. She called me a selfish bee and a whole dictionary for asking for a day. Let me add that I always did everything I could to help her because she always talked about her miserable life, covering her shifts, giving her money, rides, babysitting. I mean, isn't that what friends do? She was upset she had to work her full shift, ends at 4:30 p.m., and wouldn't be able to have me cover it. She had never even asked, so when I asked her what the problem was, she said I should have known better, that she had talked about this concert before and that I didn't care. I explained to her why I needed the day off, but she said she needed to leave early because she wanted to get ready for the concert and pregame. She already leaves work at 4:30 p.m. and lives like 5 minutes away, and it's only a 25-minute drive to the concert. Eventually, it was such a big problem, they asked me at work if I could switch my day to a different day. I cried for a whole week. She still got me to cover her shift because she threw a tantrum. Oh, and even though she was pissed, she asked me to babysit. She never apologized, and our friendship fell apart from then. Still talked, but I stopped doing her favors. I saw how she was playing everyone after that. Asks for favor, gets rejected, throws tantrum, gets favor, gets demanding, treats you like crap, asks favor. Then I realized why I was depressed all that time. She was just incredibly toxic, and my attachment didn't allow me to see it until she found my limit. Edit. It was an urgent care emergency clinic. It's part of the hospital's emergency room, but for less severe issues, similar to the regular 24-hour urgent care, but a different system. My family members have a lot of health issues that often bring us to the big ER. I am aware of the frustrations of having to wait hours just to be seen. I could barely walk, and my job refused to record the injuries and help me with workers' comp, saying I didn't tell them in time. We don't have HR, so unfortunately I had to deal with it. Edit 2. I totally understand why I could come across as weak and a doormat. She had a worse situation than I did in some ways. I always like to help and give back to people to the best of my ability. The problem was that even after doing her many favors as a friend would do, she still trash-talked me, sort of harassed me, and my only option was to put up with it or quit my job, which I did later on. I was dealing with a ton of issues, so that was the last push for me to lose my sanity. Very small, but her entitled attitude for months eventually got to me when I started being called selfish the one time I made a decision for myself. I posted here because after all of this, she still asked me to babysit for that day and asked me for more favors. I started putting myself first and worked hard on saying no. It made the friendship quite distant, but I'm chilling. For now, I did quit after one of my coworkers, 50-year-old female, almost collapsed in my classroom because they wouldn't let her go to the hospital after her sugar was way off. She had to wait 2.5 hours, was not needed in the classroom at all. I had it covered. She was admitted for a week after that and quit when she came back. I did yell at them and told them she had to go. A friend of mine passed from a diabetic coma last year, and watching this happen while I was in my class sucked. I also quit for many more reasons, but just to give you a glance for how professional management was, my boss didn't talk to me for 3 weeks after I gave her a month's notice. Not even 2 weeks. And our next story. I'm not giving my aunt a portion of my inheritance that otherwise would have been hers. Context. I, 24-year-old female, was born into a Muslim family. I'm the youngest of 4 daughters. My father passed away a few months ago. He has 1 sister. Now, according to Islamic inheritance laws, if you don't have a son, your sisters, brothers, etc. get a portion. However, since I don't have a brother, my aunt is legally entitled to a relatively large portion of my father's estate. My father was a very wealthy man. When he was diagnosed with cancer, everyone was sad and shocked. My aunt was my grandfather's favorite child. He loved my aunt more than life, and his only wish to my father was that he took care of his sister. After Grandpa died, my father paid for her education at the expense of his own and gave her whatever money she asked for. I think this was why my aunt actively anticipated getting my father's money, because she technically is legally entitled to it, and my father has never said no to her before. I think this callousness was what broke my father at the end, because he got a lawyer and transferred everything he owned to my sisters and I. He told us to give her a lump sum amount after his death. It was more than enough to allow her to live in luxury for the rest of her life, but smaller than she would have gotten had my father not divided his assets between my siblings and I before his death. He didn't tell my aunt that he did this. When he died, there was nothing to divide because he literally had nothing to his name. My aunt was livid. Even after we gave her the money our father asked us to give. My sisters and I had to deal with our aunt threatening to sue us. She showed up at our doorstep demanding money. Well, she did come through with her threat and took us to court. The judge ended up dismissing the case. He said that my father was allowed to give his property to whomever he wished while he was alive. This has torn our family apart from the inside out. I have cousins, aunt's children, calling me horrible names for robbing my aunt of her inheritance. Some family members think I should just give her what she wants, since I did technically rob her of what legally would have been her inheritance, and to keep the peace. And our last story. HOA moved in on my uncle. About 25 years ago, my aunt and uncle moved into a new construction single-family home neighborhood on half an acre. About 6 months after they moved in, he was informed that his neighborhood was being taken over by an HOA. He disregarded his HOA application as he did not wish to join. Not long after, this random neighbor began complaining to him directly about his boat and cars in his driveway violating HOA rules. He just informed the often rude people that he was not a member. They would argue with him that everyone was a member. One of the major issues is that his driveway, garage, and front yard was on the main level of his home, and the backyard dropped down a cliff to level with his basement and backyard, so he had no way to back his boat around the side of the home into the backyard. Eventually, the HOA began harassing him with threats if he didn't move his boat to the backyard. His backyard had been closed off by a vinyl fence the HOA installed and lined another road back there. So one day my uncle decided to compromise by trying to take down a section of the back fence so he could make a gate for boat parking access. The HOA called the police on him for destruction of property. The police left my uncle with a warning if the fence was returned to proper condition by the end of the day. Uncle put the fence back up and placed his boat back in the front driveway. Now the fines started coming, week after week, month after month. When the fines reached $10K, the HOA filed a lawsuit against him. He countersued for the harassment and street access to his backyard. In court, the HOA showed the HOA boundary and showed my uncle's house was in the middle of the HOA, explained the violations, and the police report filed over the back fence. My uncle explained that he never signed up for the HOA, moved into the neighborhood before the HOA existed, never gave them permission to fence in his backyard, provided all mortgage documentation, and a blank HOA application with the HOA's security stamp and date. The HOA argued that it didn't matter if he didn't turn in his application because he was within the HOA borders. The judge declared my uncle's property was grandfathered as private property and was not part of the HOA. The HOA was to immediately take down their illegal fence on the back border of my uncle's lot. Since the HOA had fined my uncle $10,000 plus in illegal fines, my uncle was owed $10K in damages for the harassment. My uncle rebuilt his yard fence and see-through chain link with a gate where he parks all his toys in full view. He moved the boat from the driveway to his front lawn, let the lawn die, and paved it all over, all 10 feet from his front door to the sidewalk. HOA neighbors in the decades since still approach him to complain, and he just tells them to take a walk, knowing there's nothing they can do to him. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.